way too deep, and I'm drowning in devotion. I'm lost, can't find a new emotion. It's ever enough, and you can't deny it's real. 'Cause there's no deeper love. There's no deeper love than what we're feeling. There's no deeper love, oh baby. There's no deeper love than what we're feeling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Garden Show, the entertainment show you've always wished for but never had until now. My name is Casey. I am joined today with Derek and Alex. How about you guys just introduce yourselves here?
Hello, my name is Derek.
And my name is Alex.
Good.
Okay. So we're doing things a little bit different here this week. Today we have our topics. Oh, one thing I wanted to say first is that Jordan is not here yet. He was here with us last week, but he is currently out of town. But he is set to be back here around 4 o'clock or so. That's within the next. That's within the next hour. We do have a Destiny 2 topic to talk about regarding the most recent update. I know he was playing it the other day, so hopefully he'll be back in time for that. I'm gonna take that thing off. That's really annoying. Just took the pop filter off our microphone here. So basically our topics today. Oh, and when I mean. Another thing that I actually wanted to mention is that we are doing things a little bit differently here. We do currently only have one good microphone, and I noticed last week things were a little bit quiet. So we have the microphone on a swivel here, and we're going to try talking one at a time here and swivel the microphone around whenever it's somebody's turn to talk. So our topics today include Star Wars Episode 8. I went to see it. I know Jordan went to see it. He'll probably talk about it when he gets here. There's Battle Arenas, which includes our poll question for the week, with games like PUBG and Fortnite. The third topic here, usually, and this is probably the only time it will ever be, but we don't usually talk about anything political. But this this topic here does very much so affect the entertainment world and even the show here. Topic number 4, Disney buys 21st Century Fox, a company who shows movies such as X-Men and Deadpool, goes over to Disney along with, Marvel Studios and all that. The fifth topic here is Destiny 2 update. Hopefully Jordan will be back to talk about that one. And then our sixth topic here will be FPS versus TPS, basically first-person shooters versus third-person shooters. That topic was brought up by our guest here today because I couldn't think of a sixth topic. So,
I think it's a good topic to talk
what was that?
I think it's a good topic to talk about.
Quite indeed. So, let's get started. Okay. So, first topic on the agenda here today is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I did go and see that movie this past Thursday.
How was it?
Thursday. It was actually, I actually really very much so enjoyed it. I actually personally think it's one of my new favorite Star Wars movies of all time. I know some hardcore Star Wars fans out there are like, there are some things about it that definitely, could have been better and could follow the Star Wars lore a lot more. But I personally think that with previous Star Wars movies, it kind of is taking this one a little bit of a new direction, and it honestly did some things that I wondered about in previous movies. I won't talk spoilers here because not everybody's seen it, but I will give a spoiler-free review here. I know you two haven't really seen the movie yet, but as someone who has not seen the movie yet, what would you be looking forward to about it as someone who's not seen it yet? Derek, we'll start off with you.
Well, the thing is, I haven't seen very many Star Wars movies. Just like the first couple or few.
So are you just not into Star Wars that much, or just haven't really had the chance to watch them or anything like that?
I don't know. I kind of lost interest in Star Wars and stuff like that. I mean, I might be the worst person to ask for this kind of stuff, but if they say it's like good or bad or anything, then I'll roll with it.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Alex, what about you regarding Star Wars?
Yeah, so Star Wars. It's not like I'm not a fan. I mean, I have seen a couple of them, but that's just about it. I'm pretty much on side with Derek on this one. But in regards to the newest Star Wars movies or Star Wars movie that came out on Thursday, I would have actually liked to see that one, honestly, as well as Star Wars Episode 7, because I have not seen that one yet. But at the same time, I don't really much care for it, simply because I don't have the time for it. I mean, college and stuff like that, so it's kind of getting in the way of the things I want to do. But I mean, I'll see it eventually.
All right. No, that's fair. I know Jordan would talk about Star Wars here, considering the fact that he and I are pretty much the big Star Wars fans here in regards to our little group that we have here. I can't speak on behalf of Jordan on how it was, because we were actually going to have a little discussion on it. We might talk about it later, but basically, I've obviously seen every single Star Wars movie out there. Including not really a spin-off, but just not included in the original 6 episodes. Actually, I should say 7 episodes before Star Wars Episode 8 came out, which was Rogue One. Nice little in-between film, in between 3 and 4 that they had going on there. Mostly, I mean, it did technically take place between episodes 3 and 4, but it was mostly before episode 4 and very much past episode 3. So it doesn't really explain anything past 3. It just really explains stuff before episode 4. And that's how it continues on like that. So, let's see. So, in regards to how Star Wars Episode 8 was, I think that how it's different than the other films is it takes new steps and new directions towards things that I'm pretty sure everybody has at least wondered at some point in their lives when watching Star Wars. Like they really go in depth with, what actually the Force is and, how powerful the Force can be. And it just really shows that with Luke Skywalker being a Jedi Master and all that kind of stuff. They really show just how powerful a Jedi Master is, along with really what extent the Force can go to. So with the extent that the Force goes to, they really take it in they really do some new things with it. Space battle, I mean, really this movie took place between, space battles and what was happening with Luke and Rey. Obviously, as shown in the trailers, Rey is mostly becoming, just a Jedi and all that kind of stuff. And eventually she does become, part of the Jedi Order and all that. But they do explain a bunch of stuff in it. They do provide some new stuff. They even provide a few twists and turns there. It was actually pretty funny, too. They had some pretty funny jokes and hints in there. A little bit different than some of the previous Star Wars entries. I know they were trying to make it a little bit more comedic, and I feel like they kind of did it successfully in this one.
I have a question.
Alex has a question.
Yes, I do have a question. So in last podcast, you were arguing about if episode 8 would be similar to episode 5 in some regard. Would you say that it was similar to episode 5 at all?
That is a very good question. I think I was going to talk with Jordan about that. So, in regards to it being related to episode 5, and the reason we were arguing about it is because, well, not really arguing, just mostly talking about it, is mainly because people, and I mean not just a small amount of people, a very significant amount of people do think that Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was a lot like Star Wars Episode 4, which was A New Hope. Whereas I can see a bunch of similarities in it. Orphan child, well, not so much an orphan. I mean, Luke Skywalker wasn't so much an orphan, but he didn't live with his parents and all that. So, a kid without parents on a desert planet, encountering a droid with a message is obviously happens in both films. The Death Star, obviously in Episode 7, it's not technically a Death Star. It's a gigantic planet. But either way, it's like the same mission. Episode 4, blow up the Death Star. Episode 7, blow up this planet. That both of them shoot lasers out of them to destroy other planets. Now, I mean, in Episode 7, this planet that shot lasers could actually destroy multiple planets at the same time, whereas the Death Star would really just do one at a time. Still very deadly, obviously, but the First Order's version of the Death Star was obviously much more powerful.
So they pretty much upgraded.
What was that?
So they pretty much upgraded.
Oh, yeah. After the Empire fell, they did very much upgrade their Death Star there. And then obviously a masked figure like Kylo Ren, along the lines of, with Darth Vader. Droid being on the run, all that kind of stuff. So I could see how Episode 7 was very similar to Episode 4, but I do think that with a storyline like that, even if Episode 7 was a lot like Episode 4, obviously it was still a very good movie. But in regards to Episode 8 being a lot like Episode 5, like people were fearing, I have to tell you that it is literally nothing like Episode 5. There were the AT-AT walkers. I mean, I don't even think they were the AT-ATs. And yes, it is AT-AT and not AT-AT. Because one thing that people think, like those four-legged walkers, those four-legged giant robotic walkers, is a lot of people do AT-AT. And a lot of people make that argument because of the AT-ST walkers. But it's actually been confirmed that they're AT-AT. But as I was saying, people in the trailers saw these ships going towards these AT-AT style walkers, and we're worried that, oh, it's going to be like another Hoth. It's going to be like another episode 5. We're going to find out that, like, Kylo Ren is Rey's brother or something, and then Kylo's going to chop off her arm or something like that. But,
Wouldn't that be funny to see?
what?
I said, wouldn't that be funny to see? Just like, Kylo Ren's just like, Rey, I am your brother. And it's just like, she's like, no, and then just like cuts her arm off. I just feel like that would be like very weird, honestly, to me. I don't know about you, though.
I mean, if that happened, I probably would have gotten up and walked out of the theater. Not even kidding. I would have been done with that movie and been like, okay, nope, I'm out. But luckily, it didn't do that. It actually, we do end up finding out who Rey's parents are. A little surprising, but I guess not too surprising. But if you go see the movie, you'll find out. Either way, there were literally no elements that would make it relate to episode 5 in any way except for the AT-AT walkers. And the planet itself that those AT-AT walkers are on, at first I thought was some sort of ice planet, but it's actually not an ice planet. It's actually something else. But obviously, that is really the only section of the film that would even be remotely close to being relatable towards episode 5. And that is probably about the last 30 minutes of the movie. And other than that, the first couple hours, very well put together and very different. And personally, I think is one of my favorite Star Wars movies out there. Now, along with Star Wars Episode 8, I guess we'll kind of go over Star Wars Battlefront 2, because this one thing they did very similarly this year is they released a Star Wars Battlefront game around the same time that a Star Wars movie came out. Now, obviously, with this Star Wars Battlefront 2 game, there's been a lot of controversy around it, such as the controversy this time around is basically not so much the lack of content, such as was in the first game. I mean, the first game had a very much lack of content, but the second game seems to have a lot of content, but the controversy seems to lie with microtransactions and paying to unlock content, and this content is actually supposed to help you. Is actually supposed to help you in, multiplayer. So it's considered pay to win and has had a lot of controversy around it. And so a lot of people are pretty upset about how that is actually going.
And that's EA, correct?
Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is definitely, it is an EA game. They're not, I mean, they used to never really be known for, microtransactions and pay to win, but this one has been a pretty big one. I know you two, and I personally myself haven't played Star Wars Battlefront 2, but have you encountered any games that you may have played recently where you've had to pay to get something and not, play the game to unlock something?
Well, I mean, I played, Call of Duty and stuff like that, where I kind of like to unlock really cool skins, or buy really cool skins and get really cool oculars for the scopes and stuff like that, or oculars, whatever they're called.
Reticles?
Reticles, yeah. But other than that, I don't think I've played any other play-to-win games. Kind of like Call of Duty.
I'm basically the same thing, except I've never really spent money on Call of Duty had supply drops, and those are obviously first introduced in Advanced Warfare, which in my opinion was actually an okay game. I mean, I liked the campaign. The multiplayer was iffy. It was okay, and same with the zombies. or the survival or whatever.
Yeah.
But I never really actually bought like they have like COD points so you can like spend it on supply drops. I've never really actually bought COD points. Um,
You just mostly had to like earn them, right?
oh yeah. But I feel like even earning them is just like a lot of work. I mean, like I've had. I mean, like I don't really care about supply drops, but I mean, like I know there are like some people out there. It's just like we don't want supply drops in our games. Quit it, Activision. Um, but I know that there are YouTubers out there that will buy a bunch of supply drops just so that they can bring their subscribers new content. Like this guy I watched, Merc Music. He's a really cool guy. Check him out if you haven't already. But he basically, part of his thing is like when he plays Call of Duty, he buys supply drops for content, and like, I mean, I love seeing him do that kind of stuff, but I never really like thought about like actually doing that myself because I don't like spending money when it comes to buying that kind of stuff. But I do like to get DLC. That's probably the only thing that I would spend my money on. But other than that, there's like literally nothing else for like Call of Duty. But that's just about the only type of game that I play that have like microtransactions and stuff. I know there are other games, but I mean, can't really think of it right now besides Battlefront 2.
It's all good.
Yeah,
It's
but
all good.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Battlefront 2 is it's very much on the hot seat right now. It's obviously, for one, it's paying for content that's supposed to help you win, like guns and upgrades and power ups and shit. But in games like Call of Duty and League of Legends and
That's not really an option.
yeah, other kind of things, you can buy supply drops. I mean, you can't really buy these weapons or anything like that. But I mean, you can buy supply drops, and even the drops that come out of these supply crates. The weapons technically don't really give you any advantage whatsoever. I mean, they give you bonus XP, but it's not like experience points and leveling up really gives you a tactical advantage in a one-on-one battle whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's really the thing, and that's why Star Wars Battlefront 2 is on the hot seat. And while I can understand the opportunity of putting it in the game, it's having everybody have to spend money or spend over 4,000 hours playing the game is that's what makes it so ridiculous. And that's why it's just so crazy. But I guess that's enough about Star Wars for now. I kind of wanted to talk about that for about 20 minutes or so. All right. So the next one on our list here is one that mostly Jordan and I played, but Derek watched and, helped with yesterday.
Just coach everything.
Yeah. Regarding battle arena games, and I'm talking games like, not so much games like League of Legends or Dota. I'm talking games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, H1Z1, and Fortnite Battle Royale. Those types of games are actually very and extremely popular right now, and yet are very similar in many, many different ways. It started off with H1Z1. H1Z1 was obviously pretty much the original. It was originally supposed to be a zombie game for surviving and whatnot, but then they added this new mode called Battle Royale, obviously, and that's when people started noticing, hey, this is something new. Battle Royale, it's like Hunger Games type of stuff, and it's actually a lot of fun. You just drop in, pick up these weapons, kill people, all that kind of stuff until you're the last one alive. And it is very fun. They ended up starting to put in duos, playing with friends, and all that kind of stuff. And then pretty much its hugest competitor came out. That was PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, PUBG, I personally haven't played it. It actually I think it came out yesterday on the Xbox One. I might give it a try. I have it on PC, but for some reason it just won't run on my PC. So I have to I would have to play it on Xbox at this point. But either way, it basically improves H1Z1 in the fact that you can add attachments to your guns. There's a lot more different kinds of guns, different vehicles you can drive. It really does improve upon what H1Z1 was doing. Now, H1Z1 is still in pre-game, not fully released yet or anything like that. But there is still a very competitive area in H1Z1. And then, probably what people like the most is Fortnite Battle Royale. And pretty much Fortnite Battle Royale is what everybody wanted because it gives the aspect of, building stuff like walls, stairs, traps, all that kind of stuff that really H1Z1 and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds just don't provide. And that's why people like it so much. And that is what Jordan and I were playing last night with Derek keeping his eye out and coaching and all that kind of stuff. Jordan and I had a lot of fun. We ended up winning a match. It was a very close match, but we ended up winning it in the end. We played, obviously, a few more and, lost. We got really close one time, but we did end up losing some more, too. Just based off of what you saw, Derek,
Yes.
what did you think of the Fortnite Battle Royale when we played it?
Well, as you mentioned, it's from the different games of H1Z1. You have PUBG that was kind of different from it. Ultimately, they're similar. And then you get to Fortnite, which is also pretty similar, but it looked pretty fun to me.
Yeah, and one more thing I forgot to mention that I want to point out is that another reason that so many people like and play Fortnite Battle Royale is that it's free. Fortnite Battle Royale is actually free to play on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And so pretty much anybody who has a working console or PC is able to play the game for no charge at all. And, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds was first only available on PC, and they charged, I think it was $20 or $30 for it. And then H1Z1, obviously, when they first came out with, Battle Royale in their game and all that, I think it was $20 or $30 as well. But that's another thing that puts Fortnite Battle Royale above all the others. But what about it do you think made it look fun, Derek?
I kind of think it would be the cartoon style, I would say. I mean, you have all these realistic styles and stuff like that. You have all these real guns and everything. I think it's just the cartoon style of it that kind of gets me.
And I think that's kind of an ongoing theme right now is kind of cartoon themes, with people playing a lot of Cuphead. And I'm wearing a Cuphead shirt right now. It's one of my favorite games that came out this year. I love it to death. But people love Cuphead not only for its gameplay and tough experience, but also for its art style. Very old time cartoony feeling to it. The music and the audio with it is very old time cartoony, and I think that's what really makes it stand out above all the other games out there. But with Fortnite being a very different environment compared to PUBG and H1Z1, just due to the fact that it's very cartoony, I think it can kind of draw in a crowd of not only mature adults, but also a very a little bit younger of a crowd too. Even though Fortnite brings in, still there's guns in it and whatnot. I mean, there's pretty much not a game out there that doesn't bring in guns. But at least Fortnite doesn't have any blood. It's a very cartoony type of combat, even with the guns. The guns don't even look that realistic, except for maybe like a couple. But some of those guns out there on Fortnite just look a little ridiculous.
It's kind of like if you play Overwatch.
Yeah, like it is a little bit like Overwatch. I don't think there's any blood in Overwatch.
No.
No
At
blood.
least not that I've seen.
So, as far as I know, no blood in Overwatch, but it does play a lot like it doesn't play like Overwatch, it just looks like Overwatch. And I feel like it can draw in a smaller crowd, or not a smaller crowd, a younger crowd, and thus bring in more, recognition and eventually revenue. So I think it's a good move on Epic Games' part with Fortnite Battle Royale to make it free to play and all that kind of stuff. But Derek and I have talked about it. What experiences do you have with it, Alex?
What experience do I have with Fortnite?
Or any battle arena games? Like not played, maybe even just watched.
Like any battle royale game, I would say like if I have watched, I don't remember. That's like how little I like care about that. But I mean, like, those games do look kind of fun. I mean, like, when I was at high school, like my senior year, everybody was just like, Overwatch is a really fun game. You should try it. And they've been like obsessing over that. And then like you have games like Fortnite Battle Royale that everybody's freaking out about. And then the games before that, H1Z1 and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG. Is that PUBG?
Yeah, I mean that's PlayerUnknown Battleground, PUBG, PUBG.
I pronounced it PUBG. Wow. Okay. PlayerUnknown Battleground.
Gattleground.
Gattleground. Yeah, my dyslexia is coming in.
Would you say you'd play the games though?
I'd like to give them a try. Yeah. Fortnite Battle Royale, based on what you said, sounds like a acceptable game for me. I probably want to try it out. I mean, I don't play as many like third-person shooters, let alone Battle Royale games, but I'd like to give it a go.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing about, new players in Battle Royale is that literally last night was the first time ever that Jordan played Battle Royale, and he was having a blast playing Fortnite Battle Royale. And obviously it was free because I can convince him to play a game if it's free, because if he has to spend money on it, I have a little bit tougher of a time. It has to look appealing to him. And if it doesn't look appealing and it costs money, then that makes it very much harder for me to try and convince him to play it. But since it was free and he was a little bit interested in it, it was pretty easy to get him started. And when he did start, he did very much so enjoy it. So I think eventually we might try riding the PUBG train here now that it's out on Xbox. We'll try it out because neither of us have played it. We might even stream it. Heck, we'll probably even end up streaming Fortnite Battle Royale eventually. But either way, he was a brand new player to like the Battle Royale environment, and he very much so enjoyed it. I personally have actually started even before PUBG came out on H1Z1, back when I used to stream on Twitch a lot under my personal channel. I used to play with a bunch of different other people and streamers, and it was a lot of fun. And then eventually those people ended up started dying off on Twitch, and things got busy, and I ended up didn't really have anybody playing to H1Z1 with. Then PUBG came out. I wanted to try it, but then it wouldn't work. And then with Fortnite Battle Royale coming out, I played it on PS4, I didn't have anybody to play it with on PS4 because I wasn't even sure if I was gonna play it. But then when we played it on Xbox last night, it's a lot of fun with friends to play with, like duos and squads and all that kind of stuff. So the more people, the better, is what I say. So I know that I have it on my PS4. I think Jordan should get it on his PS4, and because then Derek could download it on his PS4. We could all squad up together and kill everybody. But seriously, it is a new type. Well, not so much a new type of game recently, but when H1Z1 came out and introduced Battle Royale, it was a very new style of game that people immediately took interest in. And it does have to do with our poll question for this week. The poll question for the week is basically which Battle Arena style of game do you prefer? And obviously on the list is the ones we've talked about. There's PUBG, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. There's H1Z1, and then obviously the last one, Fortnite Battle Royale. There might be a few others out there, or maybe even one more, I don't know. But either way, which of those three do you prefer? Those are the three biggest ones. And which of those three do you prefer? Because I know some people are still on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. There's still some people even on H1Z1. And, obviously there's a lot of people preferring Fortnite. But this this Twitter poll is going up now. And it will be live until next Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Central. So you have until then to get that vote in for which battle arena you like. And those results will show up and we'll talk about next week. So that does bring on the topic of, while on our poll question here, to talk about last week's poll question. And last week's poll question was which of the 4 games nominated, well, I'm sorry, there were 5 games technically nominated for Game of the Year, but Twitter would only let me do 4, so I actually took PUBG out. Because PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was nominated for Game of the Year. But I took it out. One reason is because I'm including it in this week's poll question, and another reason is basically because it pretty much at the time was an incomplete game, and it might even still be an incomplete game. But either way, talking about last week's poll question, the 4 nominees for Game of the Year, I put up a Twitter poll and a YouTube poll on the video last week, basically asking which of those 4 nominees do you think should have won Game of the Year. And on Twitter, it was an overwhelming, if I could find it somewhere. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty much an overwhelming vote for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Obviously, the 3 other nominees were Horizon Zero Dawn, Super Mario Odyssey, and Persona 5. Personally, all those games I have played, and that's why my vote went towards Legend of Zelda, is because, as we were talking about with Fortnite, Legend of Zelda does bring in a cartoon, not so much like a cartoon, but more like an animated aspect and graphical, view to a very beloved game. And obviously Zelda has always been somewhat cartoony, but they also make it look so incredibly realistic and beautiful in the fact of its shadows and water textures, and even the weather and the sun and all that kind of stuff make it look so realistic in its animated and cartoony environment. And just the overall story and the gameplay and just the environment, and by environment I mean all the regions, there being forest, desert, snow, volcano, all that kind of stuff. It brings in pretty much everything, and all of it mixed together. I think that's why my vote went towards it. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. No votes for Horizon, no votes for Super Mario, and no votes for Persona 5. Obviously, all the votes went towards Legend of Zelda. And I 100% agree. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn was known for being one of the most best graphically designed games of pretty much all time. I personally think it looked better than The Last of Us, and in 4K, it is definitely of great quality. Super Mario Odyssey, I played that game. I beat it, and I had a lot of fun while playing it and beating it, but I don't think it has any replay value at all. Because I played it and beat it, and then I just immediately just was like, all right, I think I'm done with this game. And I know a lot of people are like disagree with that, and that's fine, because, I mean, a lot of people enjoy that type of style of game, but when I beat it, I was like, okay, that was fun, but I'm ready to move on. Persona 5, I did play, and that probably was my runner-up for Game of the Year, because I love that game so much. It's like anime, but like an anime style type of turn-based video game, and that was a very close second. But if Legend of Zelda didn't come out last year, I would have said that Persona 5 would have taken it. But what was your vote for Game of the Year last week, or for our poll question last week, Derek?
Well, I lean more towards Legend of Zelda. Like you said, beautiful game. And for me, I've kind of grown up playing Zelda games. I mean, probably the last one I played was Skyward Sword. I have not beaten it, mainly due to the fact that our parents, we kind of go on this whole thing of like, we can only have so many consoles that like if we get another one, we have to get rid of one of them. So unfortunately, we got rid of our Wii, and we actually put it to a good place though, retirement home. So the residents, they could play bowling or something like that. Yeah, it went to a retirement home.
Here? Yeah,
Not here.
one thing you didn't know is that Derek and Alex are actually brothers, and that's why they're going back and forth with that. You guys used to play a lot of mostly PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
We did.
Like PlayStation was your guys' console, and
for a long time.
yeah, and obviously I grew up playing PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 like that as well. I had a Game Boy. I actually never ever played a Zelda game. Well, okay, that's not true. I guess I played a little bit of a Zelda game prior to Breath of the Wild, but the thing about it is I never really was much of a Zelda player, and not because I didn't want to, but mainly because I never really had the chance to. And with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild being my very first, I gotta say, it makes the series look good. But with you guys being a very PlayStation type of family, I can understand that at the time, with the whole console ordeal, you may not have had the chance to finish Legend of Zelda games, much like me. But what about you, Alex? What do you think of your Game of the Year vote for those 4 games you see on the screen there?
I don't even know what Persona 5 looks like because I've never seen anybody play it. It's not like I don't like anime. But I don't have the time to watch it because, again, college, and like I don't really have a TV in my room, and we don't have Netflix either, so I can't like binge watch anything. Super Mario Odyssey, I think it was, I've never seen anybody play it, but from the sound of what you guys said last week, it sounded like a pretty interesting game. Switching between like 3D and 2D environments. What don't you like go into like the real world at one point?
Well, it's not so much that you go into the real world. It's mainly the fact that you go into a city, and the city is actually aware of the Goombas and Bowser and all that kind of stuff. It's not as if like it's it's not as if Bowser or the Goombas or Mario came into this city and they were like, oh my gosh, what the heck is that? It was almost as if it was something normal that happened, but they do belong in the same universe, and that's why it was They were a little different, obviously, but obviously people weren't freaking out about you because it seemed pretty normal. But one thing that it did do is it did take you back. I mean, they did a very good job of mixing the 3D Super Mario 64-esque type of gameplay, but also the retro 2D style of Mario. So it didn't bring you into the real world, but they did definitely take you back to the old retro 2D style.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting to me. I kind of actually like games that do that. Just like go back to their like roots, or at least like make a cameo of that. But yeah, that's my thing for Super Mario. Horizon Zero Dawn, I've seen a tiny bit of it, and I would agree it's very graphically, probably like one of, if not the best graphically made games I've seen ever. But I'm not sure about that simply because I've never played it, nor have I seen anybody play it. So that's kind of down. And Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I have seen a little bit played by Game Grumps, and it is a beautiful game. And by the way they played it and like the way that it's been played out, I think it's pretty much got my vote for the game of the year, honestly.
All right. So that's what we think about last week's poll question. This week's poll question is obviously up there right now. And we'll go ahead and remind you throughout the week, too, just to remember not to forget about the poll question. Let's take just a small break here because we do have Jordan coming in here. So we will take just a tiny little break here. I don't so much have anybody to promote this week. I haven't really kept track of, all the viewers I'm watching and whatnot. But I did notice that, Alex, you did bring up someone you watched earlier and you were like promoting them at the time. Why don't you talk about this YouTuber that you were talking about previously while we have a small break here?
All right, then. So this guy, his name is Merc Music. His real name is Eric. And I don't know his last name, but that's probably a good thing because that's creepy. He has well over, I think he's almost 4 million subscribers in. And he's been doing YouTube for, I would say, almost 10 years now. He first started off as a guitar channel. It's hence the name Merc Music. But then he went on to do some Call of Duty gameplay. And then he branched out to like Battlefield and Overwatch and all those sorts of games like that. So if you haven't checked him out already, I would highly recommend him. He's a really cool guy. He's funny. However, he's not for little kids at all. He's a very mature channel, but again, he's really funny. So check him out if you have the chance.
Okay, so during this little break here, we'll kind of go back to a topic that we've already gone over, and that was actually we'll pretty much just talk about the previous two topics, because now that Jordan's here, he did have experience with both of our previous topics of Battle Arenas and Star Wars Episode 8. Now that Jordan is here, he can offer his spoiler-free review, and which yeah,
What's that, Jordan?
I did say spoiler-free review, and his experience with the Battle Royale that we've gone through last night. So, Jordan, how about you start off with Star Wars spoiler-free?
It was good. Review over. I cannot. I am not going to be the guy that ruins it for everybody. I'm just not. I'm just going to say it was good. It was pretty good. That's about it.
Let me put it this way. On a scale of 1 to 8, how do you rank it?
You. A scale from 1 to 8.
I'm sorry, a scale of 1 to 8 with 1 being the highest.
Oh, with 1 being the highest.
Yep, like being your number 1.
So am I ranking it out
Yeah.
of the 8 Star Wars movies, the main Star Wars movies?
On a scale of 1 to 8, is it like on it being your list of favorite Star Wars movies out there?
What's your number one?
Yeah, what is your number 1? That's the scale of 1 to 8, with 1 being the highest. I know it's backwards, but 1 being the highest.
Man, you're really putting me on the spot here. Because now I have to go back and think on all the other films. But this one's in my top 3. I think I liked one of the other Star Wars movies more than this one. But it's like tying for second, or it's at least in the 3rd favorite movie. I liked it better than 7. And I liked it better than all the prequels. But I believe one of 4, 5, or 6 I liked better than this one.
Oh, I have a question. Was this like Star Wars Episode 5?
I was about to literally just ask that.
Oh,
literally.
because I said it shouldn't
Yeah.
be like that?
Because, no, he asked this question before because we were talking about last week how you thought it was going to be like Episode 5. Now, without any spoilers, obviously, is it anything like Star Wars Episode 5?
Besides the AT-ATs?
Yeah. There are some similarities in there.
Okay. Like what?
I can't say!
The AT-ATs is about it.
No.
When's the last time you watched Star Wars Episode 5?
Alright, so Episode 5, it's all about, like, Luke training and stuff, right? With Yoda and whatnot?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay, and in this one, who goes to train with the new Jedi Master?
Yeah, but which Jedi Master doesn't want to train the new trainee?
Well, he's convinced after, like, a day.
After it's definitely more than a day because Rey stays there for probably multiple
We
days.
have no idea how long she's there, but she ends up getting trained by him, okay?
For like he
I
said,
did it! Don't spoil it, motherfucker!
no. But the thing is, I mean, sure. In episode 8, sure.
Spoiler-free review. Fuck off! You're gonna make me rate this thing. I said I'm just gonna go with pretty good, and you're like, no, we gotta get into the details. And then you're just like, no, you can't be. You gotta get into more specifics on this stuff. No, it's like Episode 5, to a fault.
To a fault, there's like 2 things about it that
No.
are like episode 5.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
No.
Pretty much the whole movie. And that tiny little portion right there, like I said,
See,
the whole
this
movie.
is why I hate when you said it's spoiler-free, because there's things I can tell you that are like it, but they spoil the fucking movie.
All right, well, let's do a semi-spoiler-free. We won't talk about any like huge reveals and
Okay,
surprises
who died
or
in
anything
Episode
like
5?
that. Huh? Who died?
Major person died in Episode 5?
Nobody.
Yes, somebody did.
Who?
I can't remember who, but somebody major died in Episode 5. Because episode 4, it was Obi, right?
Then who was in episode 5 then? See, you can't even remember who it was, so how do you know if somebody died in episode
Somebody
5?
died in Episode 5, motherfucker, and then somebody died in this one, alright?
Please leave it in the comment section below.
Like seriously. Okay. So this is why we need laptops.
You said this last week.
I can't remember, and if it says
I said this last
no,
week.
if it said
Yeah, that's what I meant. You guys said this last week.
if it says that somebody major died in Star Wars Episode 5, then I'll
Just say
I'll
who died
say
in
you're right
episode
and all
5 of
that.
Star Wars. There's probably a lot of people who did, but quite a bit. I know.
I hope this.
Because it wasn't Vader. Vader died in 6, didn't he?
Yeah, because his episode 7, his helmet was revealed.
Let's see.
I'm sorry. I've only watched the trailer.
Because Darth Vader killed somebody major in Episode 5.
Luke Skywalker's arm.
No. That's major, yeah. He loses his arm.
Nobody.
Episode
I'm
5.
literally looking at the list of people who died in episode 5, and it's nobody major.
Nobody major.
Nobody major.
No.
Any minor characters?
Well, yeah, there's quite a few.
Who?
A lot of stormtroopers.
I mean, it's literally doing down, like, people and snow speeders and shit.
What?
Like, people who got blown up in
That's
snow
it?
speeders. Well, not everybody was blown up in snow speeders in episode
Was
5.
episode 5 just a bunch of major reveals like father and sisters and whatnot?
Yeah, pretty much. Darth Vader force choked a few people in episode 5. But literally, no major characters died in episode 5.
Okay.
Unless they've got someone.
We don't speak of.
Like,
Yeah.
there's
We don't
literally...
speak of Carl.
There's literally like 2 parts of that movie similar to episode 5, and the rest of it completely unique in its own way. Go ahead, Jordan, speak your mind.
I cannot. 'Cause 2 major people die in this one. And one of them kind of bugged me. Cause you like
I know which one you're talking
I know, 'cause,
about.
like that one I was just like, I was so looking forward to that one being built up even more, but then they're just like, nah. Nah.
I know, I was
He goes in this one, I was just like, why?
and I completely agree in that aspect because I
Adam
was
liked it. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, why? Why did you like that?
Oh, he liked that certain part
He
of
liked
it.
that certain part.
That's
I was
ridiculous.
just like, no.
That made that certain person look so weak. But anyways, I mean, literally, you can think of it all you want. That this person, I mean, Rey's getting trained by a Jedi Master, and there's AT-ATs on a planet going towards a Rebel base, like Episode 5, and then you just forget about the rest of the movie.
Was episode 5 the planet where they were on Hoth?
Yes,
Okay, so they have 2 ice planets in this one.
it's not an ice planet though.
Yeah, it is.
It's salt.
Fucking creatures made of ice, dude.
No, they're
That
salt.
entire planet's not made of salt.
Did
I think
you-
just that valley was made of salt?
Jordan, did you even watch the movie?
I did watch the movie.
Because literally, one part of that movie was literally a guy, and this isn't even a spoiler or anything, he literally dipped his finger in the ground, tasted it, and was like, oh, salt.
Which I thought was weird, by the way. Also, remember the one dude who just kind of like walked out in front of everybody, and everybody's just like, what the fuck is this guy? Remember that guy was just like, it's salt. And then they like look up and see this one dude just like walk out there and just go like,
Yeah, and I was
who
like,
the fuck was that?
I was like, is that a major
Is
character?
that supposed to be like the director making his own cameo or something? Like, I don't fucking get it. Who is it?
All right,
It's
M. Night
Stan
Shyamalan.
Lee.
Just fucking weird. There were also some other parts where I was just like, they could have done that better and they could have made that cooler. Another part where I was just like, holy fuck, I forgot how strong they were. I think you know which part I'm talking about.
Yes, and but and then I mean, literally, that's like literally the only 2 parts that are even remotely being close to episode 5, and that's it. Because all the rest of the movie, and all of them are actually major points of the movie, do make it stand out as a very unique type of movie. And as spoiler free, I did talk about how I do like how they did incorporate the Force better in this movie and explain it better than in any of the other movies, and kind of show it to its extent better.
This one they didn't, when he was trying to explain the Force to Rey and stuff like that, and he was like giving that good example of it. I was really hoping that he was just like, the Force is in everything, just so you know, FYI. Everybody's attuned to the Force.
There's a
It's
force
like
in
that's
my
that's
pants.
lore. Shut up. there's lore that's just like the Force is in everything, and everybody has like the Force in them. It's just there's more people that are more attuned to it and can control it, which are the Jedis and the Siths and stuff,
Of course.
or the dark side and whatnot. But like, they did pretty good explaining it. Just like, wish they would have added that tiny little detail.
Yeah, and I think I know what detail you're talking about. It's one we talked about last week about a certain someone being a certain thing.
Yes.
And that's about as far into that as we will go.
One other thing I did not like was another similarity was one major bad guy toiling with, should I be good or bad?
Darth Vader was not like that in episode
Yes, he
5.
was.
Not in episode 5.
Yes, he
He was
was.
like that in episode 6.
No, because it started in episode 5, and then in episode 6, it caved over.
No,
No, because in episode 5, he was just like, I am your father. And he was like trying to convince him, just like, come on.
He was trying to convince.
Come on.
No, he was trying to convince Luke to go to the dark side because the Emperor told him to.
Come on, think. There's a similarity
No,
in
the
there.
the Emperor told him to get to get Luke Skywalker to join the dark side. If
For
he
what reason?
so they can have two major Jedi, well, not Jedi, but two major people who are very attuned with the Force on the dark side.
And how is that any different than that one specific scene?
Well, without providing any spoilers,
Just saying.
this certain person, it's Kylo Ren.
Just gonna rip that Band-Aid off.
No, Kylo Ren didn't die, obviously, and this was pointed out in not only the previous movie, but even in the trailers. He's was very torn between, the light and the dark side. And then, eventually ended up going down a very definite path. But if he wasn't like that, if he wasn't very torn between the light and the dark side, how much more interesting would that film have been if he was just completely definite on being towards the dark side? And, how much would that have mattered to the story of, trying to get Rey over to the dark side and trying to not only convince her, but kind of trick her to going to the dark side? How do you think, if he was just definite on going to the dark side and wasn't torn at all, how do you think that would have worked out in his favor?
Hey Ray, we have pizza.
Yeah, the dark side has cookies.
You think he would have been able to convince Rey to come to him if he wasn't torn in some way, shape, or form?
Not convinced. He would have forced her.
How?
Because he's fucking powerful, dude.
But as we've seen, she is also powerful. So
I know.
So he, instead of trying to force her, he pretty much being torn between the light and the dark side, knew she was powerful, and so without any fight at all, he pretty much tricked her into coming.
I'm not going to say anymore because I'm getting a little boiled over and I just want to shout things and I can't shout those specific things. So
Maybe we should talk.
After the
Maybe we
podcast.
should talk about it after a while.
of course.
Because, after, it's been out for a few weeks, so then there's not really any spoilers, any other spoilers left. Because then at that point we'll be like, if you haven't seen the movie yet, then you don't care about spoilers. And if you do, then you should have seen the movie. But anyways, we'll talk about what we talked about already. We three have provided our input already, but what did you think of when we played Fortnite Battle Royale last night?
Fucking loved it.
And I explained how you were a very new player to that type of game. Like, you haven't played H1Z1 or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds at all. And I think the only way I was able to convince you to play it was that it was...
No, I was already convinced to play. Like, I was just waiting for somebody to play with because playing that game solo is really boring. So, like, when you died and I had to play by myself, I was like, I don't really want to do this, but this fucking sucks.
Yeah, and I do agree that it's a lot more fun with more people, but I think the fact that it was free very much so puts it ahead of all the other competitors.
100%.
100% indeed.
So much fun.
Like the poll from last week.
What?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah, the poll.
No.
We talked about the poll from last week, how it was 100% Breath of the Wild for
Sorry,
the
I
win.
was kind of slow on that one.
Oh, except for on YouTube. There was the poll I put up on YouTube actually did have one vote for Persona 5.
Yeah, well, that's a good game, too.
And like I said, it was a very close second for me. It was a very close second for
Such
me.
a good game.
But basically, Breath of the Wild takes it by a landslide, and you said you had a ton of fun with it. What makes that game fun besides it being with people?
What? The battle royale?
Yeah.
Well, Derek was pretty much wrapping it up like a president last night. Just like, it's the intensity. It's like constantly like getting weapons and be like, fuck, dude, fuck. Like looking over hills, looking over your shoulder all the time. Having to run. When we had to run basically the entire time limit to get from that one circle to the other. Like it was like, hey, it's the whole map, right? And Casey and I were just like, oh yeah, dude, we're good. We're gonna get supplies, we're gonna get guns, and then it was just like, get the fuck over to the other half of the island. We're like, we got 2.5 minutes to get all the way over there. So we just started fucking booking it the entire time. We didn't stop for nothing. We heard gunshots. We were just like, fuck it. We gotta go. And it's just like, just that intensity, that thriving. We're gonna play that today, actually. Because holy fuck, that's so much fun playing that today after this is over.
I 100% agree, and we will definitely play that game.
So much fun.
But I think what I think we can do is I think you should download it on your PS4 too, because it's Derek can download it on his PS4, and we could play the shit out of it.
Okay.
Because we were playing it on Xbox, and we'll just play it on Xbox I think tonight, and then play it on PS4 a different night. But
because I only have a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I only have an Xbox One.
Oh, there you go, another player.
Bitch,
I'm sorry.
get a PS4. Bitch, get an Xbox.
yeah.
Wait, you and me, we have been PlayStation people, so why do we get an Xbox?
I thought you wanted
Holy
to play
shit, I just
certain
realized
different
that.
games.
Derek.
Well, is it like
Even I was surprised that you got an Xbox One especially because of Crash Bandicoot.
You know, we're gonna have to buy an extra mic or something because watching you swivel this thing around like an arm is really fucking weird.
I know, and it's one thing that I've looked into getting separate microphones and
They're
whatnot.
like, aren't other ones just like another $100
Yeah.
for like Blue Yeti or something?
Yeah, we could even go to Best Buy and look, because there's some pretty cheap microphones out there. We could even just get like a Snowball.
Why don't we just get one extra one next weekend before the next podcast? Just at least one extra.
Yeah, we can do that. So like two people on this side.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I wanted to do, but it's really just this one time because I don't like swinging this thing around all the time. But all right, now that we're done with our intermission and our first two topics, it's like I said when I was introducing the topics, we don't get political in here. But this does affect the podcast, and it does affect the entertainment industry on YouTube, Twitch, all that kind of stuff. And that does have to do with the recent announcement of the FCC repealing their decision of allowing companies like Comcast and Verizon kind of control what people can see on the internet. Now, I don't know if it's 100% every single internet company that's involved, but it is a decision, and I think, obviously, with everybody else on the internet, it is a very, very bad idea. And I think it's something that we do need to address, just due to the fact that, people have questions about it and all that kind of stuff. Personally, I think it's still an issue that even though they've repealed it and, they say it's kind of set in stone, the fight isn't over on it. And there's still a lot to do to support it. Even websites that you go to are just like, help fight against this and, fight for net neutrality and all that. It's really just an ongoing topic right now that we're not going to go into politics specifically, but we'll go over the topic itself pretty much very briefly here. Just very briefly. And, we're not going to express political opinions just besides that.
Can I say something? Yeah, the FCC announced that they were going to repeal the net neutrality laws. but they have to get it through Congress too. So we're just kind of waiting on that.
Which hopefully should take like half a year. Like it should take a while before it gets through to Congress.
I mean, like,
but still, it's a major thing. I'm pretty sure the companies can start like inching it towards it already being in law. So like they can already start throttling your internet if they want to. I think they're gonna try to do that, but like Netflix is already threatening to sue any company that does that. They're threatening to sue, along with New York and a couple of other states. So if it goes down to it, it'll be based on state decisions for the internet companies.
And I oh shoot, what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. Sorry. I don't think Congress is that stupid to well maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm really hoping
don't undermine the stupidity of some politicians.
I mean, like, the politics now are just ridiculous, but I really hope Congress is smart enough to
show that even like what is it, some 70-80% of Republicans, like they are in support of net neutrality. So like even if Republican senators are just like listen to your constituents, okay? Listen to the actual people behind your party. They want it to stay. Almost all of the Democratic people want it to stay. Just keep it. Don't make it hard. Just keep it. Get rid of some of the power for the FCC. Make it so they can only make suggestions for this type of shit. And then give you the full power to do it. Or give the people the full power.
Yeah, I'm just really scared right now about this.
Be. You very much should be.
That's why I'm like freaking out about this. I'm not saying the right stuff right now, but
you're fine, dude.
I mean, it's literally the fear of losing your freedom of expression on the internet, which is why we do this. I mean,
we're not having to pay for expressing yourself, which is another major issue. So like, yeah, they can censor you, of course, but if they wanted to, they could be like, all right, well, if you want to express yourself, it'll be $20, and you'll be like, well, fuck off.
And it's very bad for, low end podcasters and low end streamers just trying to, start something that they really, really want to start doing. Like, we want to upload more of, Fireteam Ranger with the side of bacon. We want to do more of these podcasts here because I mean, I'm having fun. I don't know about you guys.
Speaking of which, I've watched that episode 20 times already. So good.
Okay.
and it's literally that type of freedom of expression and our freedom to express not just our opinions but creativity is what makes is what really kind of helps us have fun and helps us get ourselves out there and out the door.
So support it.
Support net neutrality.
Don't let it die.
Yeah, obviously.
If they try to, riot in the streets.
Yeah, literally, because Congress is that stupid, but they won't completely ignore the opinions of the people because literally they know that their jobs lie in our votes. And
they do.
Yeah, and if obviously they support this FCC decision to put this implement this law into place, we'll just kick you out and put somebody in who will go ahead and help fight against it. Like Alabama's new senator.
Yep.
That's right, senator.
And we won't go too deep into this because this is out of what we want to be. But that is an example of just like the power of the people. If you can piss us off enough, we will flip your fucking state and try the other side. All right?
Yeah, and exactly. And if you do that, we'll just like I said, we'll kick you out, and then we'll bring somebody else in who we know will at least look into the situation and obviously listen to the people.
All right.
That's all we're covering on that. We needed to get it out the door there because it does affect us. Our next topic here, I actually looked this one up because I was trying to come up with topics because I forgot my list at work. But this is actually a good one to talk about because it's just so it recently happened this week. Disney buys 21st Century Fox, company that makes X-Men,
Did you
Deadpool.
see how much they bought them for?
What was it, like $52 billion?
$52 billion. Or $54.2 billion.
That's right, $54.2 billion. And that is not a surprising amount to buy them for either.
I think that's the most any company has ever spent buying out another company, I believe. Because they only bought Marvel for $4 billion.
Yeah, and even though Marvel is definitely something that people were watching at the time, Marvel isn't that. I mean, it isn't as big as 21st Century Fox, because 21st Century Fox, you know, has things like X-Men and Deadpool, but it has other things too.
The Simpsons.
Literally, The Simpsons.
So you can now start expecting The Simpsons to be promoting Disney shit.
Ew.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll keep the same people on. Well, obviously, I would keep the same people on who writes The Simpsons. These psychics.
Oh yeah, they're brilliant people.
Yeah, like
It's
these psychics who somehow predict the future.
I would just love to like Disney promote Deadpool 2.
Oh my god, I can imagine Deadpool 2 making fun of them being bought out by Disney or something.
Yeah.
Oh, Deadpool was Fox.
Yeah, because it was in the same realm as X-Men.
Oh shit.
Now,
Remember?
and the Fantastic Four.
No,
Yeah.
See, that makes me happy. Like, can we please now get a really good Fantastic Four movie? Please? The last one you did was absolute garbage. We're on the realm of that's like the last Airbender. We just don't talk about it. It doesn't exist anymore. Ever.
Now, one thing I do want to say is a lot of people are very 50-50 on this decision of Disney buying out 21st Century Fox. Like,
I'm
they're...
one of those people.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand. I'm very 50-50 on it too, but people are like, oh, Disney's starting to buy out everybody. It's going to be everything Disney, which I understand, but it also opens up the door so that things like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men can be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think that with that buyout, it at least opens the door for that type of opportunity. Now, obviously, how does that go with other types of shows like Deadpool, it being rated R? I did notice that.
I think they'll do just fine because of Logan.
Exactly, and
Logan did fucking fantastic, and that was I want to say it was their first majorly promoted Disney rated R movie.
it wasn't Disney.
Who did Logan? That was Marvel though.
Yeah, it was Fox,
Was it
21st
Fox?
Century Fox.
Oh, okay.
Same as Deadpool and all the other X-Men movies.
I think Disney will do just fine.
And I think even though Disney is technically at the helm,
Yeah, I mean, Disney like creates these like children movies based off like real really dark stories, but they like make them like really kid friendly, so they don't want to know the real story of like the like Cinderella or like Snow White.
Oh yeah,
They put out a cartoon Deadpool show, and it's just like they slip in a few curse words.
I'd watch the fuck out of that. But, only, obviously, not on the Disney Channel. Not on the... What if they did, like, an Adult Swim, but on the Disney Channel?
Oh, I'd be on top of that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, cartoon Deadpool that's, like, TVMA?
I would see that.
That's the next thing that Disney's gonna buy. Adult Swim.
Yeah, like Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. Oh, my gosh. But...
Promote your shows.
Yeah, but I don't think Disney is completely against, even though they obviously have become famous and known for their very kid-friendly cartoons, shows, movies, that kind of stuff. They kind of put their foot in the door with the more mature and adult type of environment with the buying of Marvel and Star Wars. Because even though Star Wars is also kid-friendly, it's also very mature in the fact that there is blood in Star Wars. Not a lot, but there is some. And
Like when?
like in Episode 7, you know how Kylo Ren cuts open Finn? There's a little bit, and then
Is
there's
there really? I didn't notice that because it like lightsabers loud. They cut people, but they automatically sodomize the wound, don't they?
yeah, and I'm not saying like I'm not saying
Cauterize, yes.
I'm not
Yeah,
s-
cauterize.
I don't fucking know. That's what I thought. That's what came to
sodomized.
mind.
No, I'm not saying like dripping blood. I mean like an open wound.
Scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know
like
what you mean.
open wound, even though it cauterize. Now you have me
Cauterize.
saying sodomize. It's not.
sodomize?
It's not sodomize. It's not sodomize.
Sodomize you with my lightsaber. Yeah, that's a new word.
Even
today,
though they do
sodomize.
cauterize the wound,
Let's do-
wound, it still leaves an open wound. Like you still see some red in there. It's just not dripping blood.
Like when he got his face cut. That was one thing.
Exactly.
That was one thing in the new movie that is not a spoiler. He gets it fixed, but at one of the stages when he was getting it fixed, he had this like fiber mesh type deal going on his cut. And I was like, please leave it like that. That looks fucking dope as shit. But nah, this mofo gets it fixed even more, makes it more like just a regular looking scar. And I was like, that's stupid. That looks so dumb. You could have had a super character defining moment of just being like, I want to keep that because it looks intimidating. And it looked intimidating. Of just like this gigantic lightsaber cut that looked like it had a fiber optic mesh thingy in there. And it was so cool. It was so cool. But then he got it fixed and I was like, eh.
Great. Now,
Now
it's
you
just
look
another Star Wars
normal.
movie.
Why the fuck did you do that?
Now you look normal except for your big ass elephant
I'm just waiting for
ears.
you. I'm just waiting
I'm
for you
just
to
kidding.
just like.
I'm just kidding. Don't hurt me, Ben. I'm sorry.
I'm just waiting for you to just like accidentally just like swing this around and like hit somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like spinning like a helicopter. It's like, oh,
Um,
table flies away.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's powerful enough to do that, honestly.
Probably not.
yeah, and I bet you the next thing that Disney buys out will be, well, I don't know. That'd be very interesting. Isn't it Sony Entertainment that's doing the new Venom movie?
Yes.
We'll see how long Sony Entertainment lasts with Disney buying out everybody.
I believe Sony and Universal are the ones that are just like, no, we'll hold our assets till we die. Like
That'd be very interesting.
I don't think Disney could ever afford to buy those things from them. They can buy a partnership, sure, but they will never buy it outright from them.
They may ask for a little bit too much, but with 21st Century Fox coming in, they may start bringing in way more big bucks.
Oh, they are definitely
Um,
going to start bringing in.
But let's move on. We pretty much covered everything about Disney buying the 21st Century Fox. This one is mainly towards Jordan here because
the Jordan
topic
this week.
mainly because I haven't played it in like months, but has a new Destiny update. Jordan, I saw recently that Bungie plans to fix all of Destiny 2 Curse of Osiris's problems, and how do you feel about that? And how do you feel about the update?
Depends on what you heard.
Well, I didn't so much hear anything. I just saw that Bungie says, "Oh, we're gonna fix all their problems." I didn't read too much into it because it was actually a video, and I didn't have the time to watch said video. But let's start with the update. What do you think of the update? Because I saw you were playing it a couple days ago.
I was actually playing it yesterday with Chad, a good friend of ours. It's pretty good. They added in. This is like a first step in the direction they should have been going since day one. That's why I called it # should have been day one. That's what I said last week, I believe. But let's see. They finally put in where it's like, hey, you can buy stuff with your legendary shards now, which is a currency in the game that almost every single player had at least 300 of at every point in time, because you just get all this legendary armor that you don't want, so you break it down and then you get those shards. So now you're mostly scarce on them nowadays, because now they're just like, here, you can spend it on almost everything. And you're like, finally, it should have been there since day one. Another thing is they brought back, not finally, they just brought back 3 of coins, which again should have been there since day one. They brought in rewarding rewards for completing a strike. Should have been there since day one. So
Rewarding rewards.
yes, rewarding rewards. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm calling it. Don't fucking make fun of me, you moose.
Hey, excuse me?
Yeah.
A
He
moose?
Like a moose.
Yeah.
A moose?
Yep. You
Have
heard
you
me.
seen him in? Never mind.
Yeah.
If you want to see him in real life.
So it's the right step towards making the game what it should be. And so they're also doing a way better job of communicating with the fans and with everybody else, because that was another major thing when Destiny 2 came out. They like shut themselves inside of their company and didn't tell anybody anything. Like all these fans were just like, "Oh man, your game sucks. Like there's no end game grind. It's too casual." And then Bungie was just like, they got clammed up, like they were hiding an STD or something. I don't know. They just wouldn't talk to us, and it was really frustrating. And then finally, we got so fed up when Curse of Osiris came out. We were all like, "Okay, this game is fucking stupid. Like you're losing all your fans left and right." And then Bungie was like, "Whoa, let's calm ourselves down here. The game's all right. We'll start talking with you." And now they're finally, every time there's a huge issue, like, another major thing that got them to start talking was when they got their hand caught in the cookie jar, basically, of the whole EXP throttle. So like, as soon as you hit level 20, and then you get your 3 engrams or whatever from the boost, then after that, it took like, I don't know, I want to ballpark it here, like 3 hours to get another level up, because the way that they EXP things was ridiculously scaled. So it hurt people, so it took them longer to get loot, making you want to just buy all of the in-game cosmetic stuffs instead of just earning them, which is another thing people don't like about it. So now they kind of fixed that. Kind of. They also got caught having a job position open for just Eververse, making it a player-driven grind for the Eververse things. And like, it was basically a position saying, "Hey, we need your help making Eververse wanted and desirable, because people fucking hate it." And people were just like, "No, take away the job position, just fucking get rid of Eververse, get rid of this shit." And they're like, "No, we won't do that, but we'll make it more rewarding." And we're just like, "We don't want it to be more rewarding. We want in-game shit to be more rewarding. Like, make this stuff quest lines and make it rewards for doing strikes and doing Crucible events. Make some more public and world events happen that we can get this stuff." It's just a lot of frustrations, but again, step in the right direction. We're getting there. And they talked about, and then it was really quick rapid response. There was something recently that was just like, "Hey Bungie, can you fix this about strikes?" And they were just like, "Yep, we're on it. It'll be in January, but we're on it." Like they told us, like they told us, just like, "Hey, we hear your concerns. We're working on it. We'll get it fixed. It'll be in January." And we're like, "Okay, that's what we're looking for. That's what we need. We need communication. We need to know that it's on its way, that you hear us."
So, is it starting to build back your trust?
No. Nope. It should have been there since day one. The moment I see you like surprise us with a huge update that's something new and innovative, like giving us like each month, I will be surprised if each month, like in January, they're just like, "Hey, there's a hidden quest out there," and then you go and find there's a new exotic quest. Like boom, I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." And then the month after that, there's like, "Hey, there's another quest out there you can go find." Like if they just bring new free exotics people can get every month without having to buy the DLC, then I'll start trusting them again. Like a lot.
So, like what they did in the previous game with the Black Spindle, do you think, like, if they do something like that?
Shit like that, where it's just like you put this random thing in, and then you like you hint at it, and people are just like, they start to hunt for it, and then once they start to find the steps for it, and then they're just like, "Oh shit, this is awesome," because it's like it's free. It's just like there. And we knew you could do it. Like we know you can do it, Bungie. So do it. It's not that hard. Just do it.
Hashtag bring back private matches.
Hashtag bring back the game we love. Like, I don't know why you had to start over so much, but just, "Hey, the Cabal destroyed your armory." "Oh no, we're just kidding. We're just bringing it back so you have to pay for it." Just fuck out of here with that shit. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah, we've already talked about, like EA and pay to win stuff and all that kind of stuff. I feel like what made Destiny 1... I'm not saying Destiny 1 failed. I'm saying what failed about Destiny 1 is what they really tried to focus on in this game. And they just completely forgot about what made Destiny 1 so good, too.
And then Curse of Osiris fucking went back to Destiny 1 storytelling. It was garbage. First of all, you don't know what this curse is. They don't even fucking mention any kind of curse about Osiris. You have to assume that it's because he's stuck in this time paradox until you come save him. And then it's just like, you just don't really figure out why he's hated so much by the Vanguard and whatnot. You're just like, oh, it's just this dude trying to fix shit. That's about it. They don't go into depth with why he's fucking hated, why his views are shrewd. It's because he thinks the Vex are a new way into what we need to be. So that's what the Vanguard's like, no. Chill, we are us. Don't be in them. And he's just like, no. We want to use their technology. Their technology is amazing.
It's me and I am you.
Yeah, you gotta use it. You gotta use it properly.
Reference.
You gotta know how to use it. Just absorb it. Take their
Mojo.
they're basically their mojo, and Zavala's just like, get the fuck out of my tower. Get the fuck out of my tower and don't come back. And then he's just like, all right, man, I'm gonna go control time.
Wait.
And he does.
That's one thing I wanted to talk about Destiny 2 last week that I actually forgot to mention until I just remembered it right now. We're talking about the tower here and all that kind of stuff and how they eliminated the tower at the beginning. One thing that I absolutely do not like about Destiny 2 is they introduced this fantastic, wonderful new social area known as the farm. And then literally,
they take it away from you as soon as you.
Literally, when you beat the game, as soon as you beat the game, it's like you can still go there, but what's the fucking point? Everybody's gone. All you can do is just go there and play soccer.
No, you can do that at the tower too.
Do they have like goals and shit?
Yep. And they have little things in there that you can have somebody on the sidelines, and they could flip open panels to fuck up the other team. So that makes it even more fun. Because you'll be like, I'm going to get a goal. And they pull up a fucking like panel and you're just like, what the fuck? And the ball bounces off and goes the other way. It's awesome. It's so much fun.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but the farm looked amazing. It looked so good. I was looking forward to having a new social space. And sure, it was a little bit smaller than the first, the tower in the first game was. But it was new. It was a new environment that I personally like a lot better than the tower. And I don't know. I'm a little bummed out that they took away the farm, especially the fact that you can't even go there and do anything when you beat the game.
I think a fun little mechanic they can add to it to make the farm relevant and to remind people that it's there is to, like, maybe monthly, randomly, they make it like, oh shit, the farm's being attacked. We gotta go help them. And then it becomes like a horde mode firefight type deal where you have to fight off waves of enemies.
Yeah.
And then once you save it, like the forest or the farm's like completely destroyed, and then you can go out, find resources, bring them back to rebuild the farm, and then people will come and you can get rewards for that.
Dude, what if they did this with the farm? And I just thought of it right now. They have a huge social space like the tower, and I'm kind of diving in again into World of Warcraft territory. Something they introduced in the Warlords of Draenor were strongholds. You can build your own shit there, and when you go to that environment, it is your own personal space where you've built shit. You can hire people. You can do all that kind of stuff. What if they made a social space like that, whereas you're like, the mayor or the king of this land here, and that you're just sending these NPCs out on missions and shit? What if they implemented something like that?
See, like, that'd be awesome, because then it'd bring more of an MMO factor into it. Like, if they want it to be more MMO-ish, then add those kind of factors. Make it so, like, you can build your own outpost, or you can build your own safe haven for people to go to, or people to pass through. So then if people are just like, hey, I want to stay here, you can be like, sure, why not? Hey, you've got a job. Go find some resources for me. And then they can come back once a week and they can drop off, like, supply caches. So like, wherever you told them to go, like the EDZ, or you told them to go to Io or something, and they bring back all these resources of that planet, like the planetary resources, that would be awesome. I think that would be good. And then they could be like, you can upgrade them, and eventually over time they could find, like, weapons, weapon parts, armor parts, and be like, yo, I thought this would be a good suit for you. Or maybe, heck, if you wanted to make it really cool, put Tessa's Eververse shit in there. So, like, you have to build these towns and you have to send them out on specific patrols and shit to earn this Everest stuff. Like, that would be really cool. That'd be a good way to get people into the game. It'd be a good in-game drive for them to do. Like, just give us something more. Like, they've got Masterworks in there, and that's pretty cool for people that really want to grind out on their favorite weapons to make them Masterwork. So it's the it's the level between legendary and exotic. You have masterworks. It's just like weapons that you've shown that you are really good with and that you use a lot because they give you this little counter on there that shows how often you get EXP on the weapon. But that's been seen on Titanfall 2. Like, you can get those weapons on Titanfall 2. But this one, they give you a bonus to your stats, I want to say. Not really. But it's like plus 10 reload speed or something for that weapon. Like, again, it's a good step in the right direction, but you got to give us more. Hashtag should have been day one. Should have been day one.
Yeah, and I agree. Should have been day one. And I mean, even if it's something they implement in the future, I mean, it'll be great. But what happens when Destiny 3, if it ever happens, comes out? It's just.
Oh, Destiny 3 is going to come out.
Well.
Knowing Activision, they are 100% going to make Destiny 3.
Yeah, they probably they probably will end up making a Destiny 3 one day. But with how Destiny 2 launched, it makes a lot of people fear what is going to happen when Destiny 3 does come out. But that's what we talked about with Destiny 2 and the update, and how they can improve on it, and how we feel about it this week. If we'll probably end up talking about it again once there's another update.
And next week we're going to be able to talk about the Dawning. That starts on the 19th. Starts on Tuesday.
What's the Dawning?
The Dawning is the Christmas event. Sorry, holiday event.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I'll be able to talk about that next week because the new Dawning armor looks really cool. So I'm going to be grinding out for that.
Okay. Derek and Alex, let's bring you back into the bunch, and we'll move on to our last topic here. This last topic here was suggested by Alex before he got here. We're going to talk about first-person shooters versus third-person shooters.
Oh.
Like Derek brought up that Fortnite obviously is a third-person shooter. Mm-hmm. And how it differs from first-person shooters. When you think about it, it's just you're the same character shooting a gun at this person, but they do play very much they play incredibly differently. Like, the most perfect example I could think of a series doing something like this is Resident Evil, going from Resident Evil 6 being a third-person, over-the-shoulder type of shooter to Resident Evil 7 being completely first-person, and not only, I mean, it's just a far more superior game than Resident Evil 6, but, I mean, that's a good example. And everybody has their preferences, and in the case of Resident Evil, I do like the first-person aspect, but...
Okay.
Either way, let's talk about it.
Real quick, and I'll let you two talk, but I just wanted to throw in, like, third-person horror games, not as scary as you would think. First-person horror games are fucking terrifying. Makes it that much more intense, because my only example I could think of is the Evil Within 2. That one part where you put on the gas mask and you go into first person, I was absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. Because it's just like, well, my field of view is so narrowed now because I don't have a whole body to look over.
That's why like most companies want to do like first person horror games, because like your view is obstructed.
And I think that's what helps Resident Evil 7 so much.
And one thing I think that makes first person for horror games better than third person is the fact that in first person you really feel like you're that person looking through their eyes, and whenever these jump scares and monsters start attacking you, they're looking at you, they're looking you in the eyes, and they're like, I want to kill you. Whereas in third person, you're this camera behind the character and these monsters are looking at this character in front of you, and that just kind of takes away from the effect.
I mean, it's still scary, like it'll still get to you at times. Like fucking Ghost Lady and Evil Within 2. Fuck her. Fuck her. But
that has to be my new
it.
worst nightmare.
Takes it away.
That Ghost Lady.
Takes stuff away when you're in third person. But I will let you two.
Yeah, another example of like a third-person horror game, that would do well was like Dead Space. Dead Space was a really good game. It had a lot of horror aspects, although I think that was like missing sort of in the third game, because it was like,
we don't talk about Dead Space 3.
I like Dead Space 3.
We don't talk about Dead Space 3.
well, I mean, like,
What about Dead Space 3 did you like?
It's To me, I liked it.
You can't
Jordan-
point a specific thing, can you?
Jordan, just let him have his own personal
I
opinion.
am. I just felt like they made it more of an action game in Dead Space 3
Well, yeah,
instead of
that's
a
what
horror
it
game.
was.
They did.
It
But,
shouldn't have been that. Dead Space has always been, in its name, a slow-paced game that you are
Yeah.
just terrified of moving. You need to be careful of your surroundings and shit.
I mean, like,
And in this one, they're just like gung-ho, like, fucking move your ass. Craft this gun to be overly powerful.
Well, I mean,
Kill
like,
this boss fight.
De-
Like,
Dead Space 2 kind of had the same thing, except that was like they implemented action while it being like more scary than Dead Space 1.
No. Dead Space 2, they added more mystery. Because they give your character a voice, and you learn more of the lore and stuff,
yeah.
but they don't add action into it. They add more terrifying thrills.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like-
what I meant.
So like the undying boss in Dead Space 2.
Yeah.
That was fucking terrifying. And you couldn't kill him because that's about as actiony as that game gets. Is like you can't kill this undying boss. You have to find a way to trap it so you can leave. That's
what
about
I-
as actiony as it gets.
That's what I meant, like thrill.
Okay.
The thriller.
Okay.
That's what I meant. But like,
But Dead Space 3 was all fucking run,
yeah,
keep running, keep moving, keep gunning.
yeah.
And they made it co-op. No.
I like how we've gone from first person shooters and third person shooters to first person horror games and third person horror games.
No,
And I honestly think that is, I mean, we're still going to talk about shooters and whatnot, but I like the fact that we're focusing on horror games right now, because with all the horror games that are not only, that haven't been announced yet, but that are still kind of upcoming. One of the most terrifying games I've ever played was Silent Hill 2. That was actually a third-person game, but what made it so terrifying and different from like an over-the-shoulder third-person horror game is the fact that the camera, even though it is technically third-person, it's not over-the-shoulder. It's like every time you walk into an area, there's like, it's like a surveillance camera looking at you.
yeah.
So if you've ever played a game like, well, if you haven't played Silent Hill, if you played a game like Resident Evil is another very good example. Like old Resident Evil games, like Resident Evil 1 and 2. I mean, those were games where you would like have like it's like a surveillance camera looking at you. If you walk into a new area, it like switches cameras to whatever this camera, wherever it is. Yeah. And obviously Silent Hill was a lot like that. And with that aspect, you could be walking down a hallway towards this camera and not know what you're walking towards. So it's not so much the fact that it's the third person that makes it less terrifying. It's the fact that with it being over the shoulder third person, it doesn't help.
So you think your scariest game you've ever played is a third person over the shoulder, right?
Oh, hold on. One of the scariest. The absolute scariest game I've ever played was definitely PT. Another Silent
There it is, right there.
Another Silent
I was
Hill.
gonna bring that up. I was like,
Yeah, but then there's the Silent Hill like successor, but it was going to be a Silent Hill game, right? That
It
they
was.
canceled. Konami, you fuckwad.
I can't even. I'm not even going to talk about it. I couldn't even begin to
We
express.
could talk about for days, but
They did a
But-
good job at it too.
no. That's the thing. They canceled something that was going to be beautiful. That was going to be the scariest game to exist, and it was first person. Like scary games should only be first person because that drives you into the immersiveness. It shouldn't be third person because it takes it out of it.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
first person really puts you in their shoes.
I think really it's because times are changing, and they change more in like horror and scary kind of stuff than it does in any other universe at all. Because with games like Call of Duty, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's the same game every year, because definitely this year it's definitely different than last year, but it's still a first-person game where you're shooting people.
Well, yeah, but they did it more beautifully.
Well, yeah, I know they did it more beautifully. But the thing about horror, the horror genre, is people can only get scared of so many things. So you have to change the formula. You have to change the way that people get scared, and that's why Silent Hill 2 is still one of my scariest games at this point. Is because at the time it was scary. If I played it again today, it's just like it's not terrifying. It's not terrifying. Nowadays, with things being first person and with PT, I think that kind of brought in first person horror games. I mean, there was Outlast at the same time and Amnesia. Really, I think Amnesia and Outlast really started the kickoff into first-person horror genre. And then PT kind of brought it into the AAA titles because Amnesia and Outlast, excuse me, were both pretty much indie at the time. But with it brought into the AAA factor with PT and Silent Hills at the time, I think that it really did take a step in the right direction of, making scary games scary again.
Well, talking about first-person horror games, like, I would agree, like, putting yourself in someone's shoes is really scary. I still think that Evil Within 2 was super scary for me. But I will agree with Jordan as well. It kind of takes away the scare factor if you're, like, in third-person point of view, where, like, say you're hiding behind a corner. You can see around there, so you can, like, plan ahead to, like, what your next move would be. Yeah, to me, it would be, like, looking around kind of, like, takes it away a little bit. But still, I kind of like the game.
What do you guys prefer, third person or first person?
I would
in any game.
when I played the PlayStation 2, probably one of my favorite third person shooters was SOCOM.
Oh, I remember that game.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
And after that, I preferred third person shooters over
Really?
first person. Yeah.
Even now?
Yeah, even now.
Interesting.
What about you?
I'm more of a first-person shooter. The first FPS game that I've ever played, I think it was like Ghost Recon, Jungle Storm. I loved to fuck around in that game. That was like one of my favorite games back then. And even now, I listen to like their music because it's so epic. It's like even something like back in like early 2000s. It's like really good. It's like something about that game is just like drew me towards it. But that wasn't like the first war game I've ever played. I think the first war game I ever played was like Commandos 2, which was a strategy-based World War II game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. But since it's old, it would like crash a lot and it would be slow. But Commandos 2 is actually a really fun game. And then the first Call of Duty game I've ever played was Call of Duty 3. And then...
Where it started to get really good.
Yeah.
Was it Call of Duty 1 and 2? They were like, you got something. You got something. It's good. It's good. And then Call of Duty 3 was just like, oh, fuck, they fucking... Oh, Masters of the Trade!
I think it was like... I thought it was like Call of Duty 2 that did that.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, because Call of Duty 2 was actually... I thought it was better than Call of Duty 3, in my opinion. Because it actually had like a lot more... I would say a lot more elements and good gameplay in it. I mean, like, I liked Call of Duty 3 back then, but when I got Call of Duty 2, I liked it better than Call of Duty 3. And then I played World at War Final Fronts. It was like the most broken Call of Duty game I've ever played. And then like
Don't get me wrong. I do like the body.
oh my god, the body physics in that game are just so stupid. Like this one mission we would play over and over again just because of like the body is just like
corpse launch.
Yeah, just like we would be at this this mission where you were at like a beach line and you had to move. This was like in I think it was like in Japan, I think.
I believe so. It was at nighttime. You had like all those little holes that you can dive into, protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like you had to advance forward into like more inner enemy lines, but like we would just get like stuck behind like a certain point in like a trench, and we would just like kamikaze, like run into the field, just like get yourselves killed, and then like we'd like throw grenades and shoot people. That was just like a couple occasions they were like we shoot them and they just like go flying up in the air. It's like shoot to the moon.
Do
Okay.
a bunch of 360 spins.
Yeah,
And that's all in first person.
yeah,
That's
all
good.
of that.
First person, yep.
All of that.
Now, would it be better in third person or first person? Like,
Um,
if it was in third person, would you like it as much?
Ooh, I'm not sure about that because if you're in third person, first person, you're like again, you're seeing it through the eyes of the soldier,
Yeah.
and you actually get to see it happen like right in front of you. But like, I think the only purpose of like serve for like third person, like you once you see the body fly, you get to actually like look up and like see where it's going. Like you can sort of do that with first person, but I mean like.
That'd be a weird step that they would take, though, since
Yeah,
most of their games were first-person
yeah,
shooters,
which-
and they switched to third-person.
Yeah, that brings me to another point. They had a planned third-person Call of Duty game called Call of Duty Devil's Brigade, which was a World War II game, but it was like third-person, and then they scratched that idea. And then in Modern Warfare 2, I played the game a little bit, but they had a mode on there called like third-person TDM, and like not very many people liked that or didn't play it, but like I mean like it was a different mode, and then like but like the Call of Duty games, like it went on to like Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, and then World War 2.
Let's not get into the later Call of Duty.
Well,
games.
Well, okay.
Infinite Warfare!
Garbage.
Yeah, like they
Are we,
had
are we supposed to cough more at that, or do we just
Yeah.
flat out say Infinite Warfare was garbage?
I think everybody can agree.
Oh no, yeah, everybody can agree. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
All those in favor?
Aye. The garden has ruled it. It is garbage.
But, like the only thing that was good about it was the campaign.
Just
I really
everyone in
liked the
chat's like,
campaign.
aye,
but like
aye.
that's the only thing good. That was the only good thing about it.
It did not interest me enough to play the campaign, so
Yeah, I mean, like,
Infinite
I-
Warfare.
yep.
Yeah, I
Jon Snow could not make it any better. Now, Kevin Spacey in Advanced Warfare.
Oh, yeah.
That
There you
interested
go.
me.
that was really good. I mean, like the campaigns really get me in the mood to play the game.
So Advanced Warfare started the In Future series for Call of Duty.
well, actually,
because it was Advanced Warfare, then it was Black Ops 3.
It was technically Black Ops 2 because that takes place in 2025.
Yep, there it is. Black Ops 2, then Advanced Warfare,
And then
and
Black
then
Ops 3,
Black Ops 3, and then
the
Infinite
most
Warfare. So
the
4
trashiest
fucking
game.
years of jumping up because of like exosuits and shit.
And then we don't talk about Call of
Move
Duty
the
Ghosts.
fuck on.
Because that was like a spin-off.
We do not talk about ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Activision thought that they needed to start off in World War II and then just keep moving forward in the years. It's like, oh, we did World War II, and then they did Modern Warfare, because they kind of jumped past a few people, or a few different kind of wars, and then they went back to World War II because Treyarch couldn't really. I mean, they were already making World at War, so they couldn't really change anything about it. So then they move on to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And then they start, it's like, okay, so we've covered the World Wars, we've covered Vietnam,
And
even though it was Black Ops and didn't technically cover any sort of Vietnam battle, but with covering all of the wars that have gone on over the years, it's just like, well, better go in the future. Not a good idea, as we have noticed.
You can do maybe one game every 5 years in the future.
Holy cow! Every 5 years.
In the
when
future.
people are actually interested in it.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
And not only when people are interested in it, but when it actually is modern warfare.
yeah.
I mean, what happens in 20 years when Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is no longer modern warfare? It's like
Yeah.
Well, they
past warfare.
It's not modern warfare. It's more of it's what we used to be more warfare. It's more like we've changed a little bit warfare.
And then no, people in the future in like 20 or 30 years are going to be like, Man, who uses this fucking RPG? It's so inaccurate. Why did they use that back then?
Excuse you. Sometimes you just gotta take a chance, and sometimes it pays off. Most of the time, it just jumps to the 90-degree angle. Yeah. But then sometimes you're really lucky, and you kamikaze yourself with the thing just to get the kill.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like RPG takes like, I feel like that's one of the weapons that like, despite you like having a lot of skill with it, it still like royally fucks you over. Yeah. No matter like how many times you like aim it or shoot it at somebody. It's like, nope, I'm going to make like a 180. Like halfway through, it's just like makes a 180 and shoots right back at you.
It'd be like the grenades from like Rainbow Six Siege, where you like throw it and then magically it just comes back to you and explodes.
Or in Rainbow Six Siege when it explodes like 50 feet away from you and it still kills you.
Yeah. Oh my god! But when Rainbow Siege first came out, I was playing the shit out of that. That was my other favorite FPS game. That shit was pretty good.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the episode here. We've gone. I mean, usually our 2-hour mark is pretty much our max. So, I prefer FPS over TPS, but there are third-person shooters out there that I do like. But anyways, that should do it for this week. Don't forget to go on our Twitter to vote on our poll question. But we will also have this stream up on YouTube as well with a poll question on YouTube. Don't forget to do that. Anyways, thank you so much for joining in today. You can always watch this on YouTube later. And we hope you have a wonderful week. And we'll see you next week.
Sure when he'll be home, get into trouble on my own. I don't